Yeah, man, it's the 20th of March, 2024, and I want to talk about a few things. Really, I kind of want to discuss direct energy weapons because that's the DEW. That's the big term that people throw around. And this is an everyday experience for me. It really is. And today is no different. Yesterday and today, the particular type of attack that I've been feeling is on the side of my head right here. It's nasty, man. Like even into like down in here, and I'm even in public. I'm taking like my little flashlight and putting it up against my head and kind of moving it around like this, and it disrupts their broadcast. And but in this case, I don't know if they're trying to cause brain damage or what it is. I can literally feel I can feel this broadcast like penetrated into the fleshy area, like beyond the bone structure here. So I would assume that's getting pretty close to my brain. And these type of attacks, man, they're brutal, man. And I know somebody that's on neural monitoring that's targeted, and they scratch their head a lot. And the reason they scratch their head a lot is because of broadcast. And this is a girl, and she's actually losing her hair and having like bald spots where she's scratching her head, and it's because they're putting broadcast there. And that's a nasty, violent type of torture. What kind of power trip are you on to try to do things like that to people, and then penetrating somebody's skull with broadcast like into their brain, and then doing like these retarded voice settings and screams and all this kind of stuff. Like this is their broadcast, their show, their the live stream is what they're always talking about, their live stream. And this is what gang stalkers do. And so let's talk about this direct energy weapon thing, because a direct energy weapon, like if you looked it up on the internet, you might see like a picture of a tank or a Humvee, with a ray thing mounted on top where they can beam some energy and destroy things. And there's different levels to this. So they could use something like I'm describing and literally like cook something into ashes like immediately. Like it takes them no time at all. And then they could use something. It might look like a a satellite dish, on them small ones that you would put, or a big one that you would put like out in the yard or on your house or something to pick up stations. They put something like that on the top of a Hummer or a tank, and they could use that for like even crowd disbursement. Turn it on and everybody's like, oh, and start running the other way, where it's not killing you, it just hurts. These are military applications that are openly discussed and shown in testing and used in war, and have been going on for decades. And so we know that this type of technology can exist. Um, you might have seen stuff about like people out in like California or the Philippines or Hawaii and stuff like that, where there's like lasers coming out of the sky, and then something like China might come out and claim that they're doing some testing with their satellite laser systems or whatever. And so we know that all of these things really exist and that they've been going on for a long time. And but when you think direct energy weapon, like that's the first thing that would come to mind. And then there's these misconceptions. See, right now I can feel this broadcast penetrating into my skull, and it hurts, man. It hurts. It makes me feel compelled to defend my life. Um, but this big misconception about like gang stalkers and how they're using DEW or direct energy weapons. And it's the biggest misconception, because a lot of people out there, they actually think that gang stalkers have some sort of handheld device. These idiot, crackhead, low life morons with no jobs and no career and no future and no past, really just sitting around on mind control all day, every day for years on top of years, all into decades. And this is what they do. And they love the connection. They love to be connected to somebody else neurologically, unconsensually. They like it to be unconsensual. They like to be they like to be able to force themselves on people, their neurological processes, and receive yours. But we'll talk about the neurological processes maybe later in this video or another video. But the direct energy weapons, they don't have handheld weapons. Their phone isn't a special phone that has a direct energy weapon built into it. Because you'll see like these posts, oh, they were pointing their phone at me, and then all this stuff, and it's paranoia, or it's the power of suggestion or circumstance. Because if you think it, then they know you're thinking it because they're receiving you. And they love to be able to have that advantage. And so when you think, oh, wow, that person over there is pointing their phone at me, well, suddenly you got the gang stalker that's connected to you from somewhere else, from where they are residing at on their little mind control headset, and receiving your thought of suspicion about that person. And then so they'll use their broadcast to attack your body right then and take advantage of that circumstance. So it's like, oh, what a coincidence. It must be them pointing that phone at me. And then I thought it was. And then all of a sudden now I'm under attack. And a gang stalker they love it. This is the advantage that they have over us and people, because they know what you're thinking. And they can act on your thoughts to solidify your suspicion, to completely send you in the wrong direction. I promise, I swear to you, that's one of the things that they do. And this random person somewhere that seems to be pointing their phone at you, it's a phone and they're just looking at it and you're acting paranoid. But rightfully so, you're paranoid. But you have to understand the process of what happens is you think, that looks fishy. And then since you're having a concern about this person maybe pointing their phone at you, then this gang stalker that's connected to you and receives that neurological process right into their mind as if they thought it themselves. And what do? They act on it. That's one of the biggest things that gang stalkers do. They act on your thought process to solidify these suspicions into a state of paranoia. And meanwhile, they're sitting at their house, wherever they are, with a mind control thing on. And are they using a handheld direct energy weapon? No. Is it a direct energy weapon? You could say yes. You could say it is a direct energy weapon. What is it? It is a satellite. It is a satellite, and it is a broadcast. And while they're on mind control, when I say they're on mind control, it just means they have a device on their head, a EEG looking device that allows them to control a broadcast, to live as that broadcast. They can, in their mind, they can close their eyes and see the view from their broadcast and be somewhere else and walk around like a hologram broadcast rather than do it as a physical person. As a physical person, they never moved out of their bed or chair or wherever they're at and where they reside. And they're controlling that broadcast. It's a satellite broadcast. It also, this mind control device that they wear, it allows them to receive. You can receive without it. We receive them as well. That's why you have stray thoughts and weird things and the dreams and all of this stuff, because they're using broadcasts to have us receive. We have reception as well. The thing that they're wearing, the mind control, they call it a mind control. That's why I'm always calling it the mind control. They call it their mind control. They're like, hey, hand me that mind control. Put it on. They got the eye covers and there's a chin strap on it. They call it a mind control. It's like works like an amplifier. So it's a two-way connection. You're connected to them, they're connected to you. They set it all up on your neural monitoring and their neural monitoring and made these unconsensual connections because you don't have access to yours and you can't control your perimeters and your settings. So they're going to control them for you. This is what gang stalking is. This is what gang stalking with remote neural monitoring is. When they're doing street theater out in public and they can always catch up to you no matter how fast of a car you're in, how good of a driver you are, what a move you pulled to leave them. You know, they can always catch up to you. They can always find you. They can always come around the corner and do something retarded or even dangerous and call it street theater. And that's gang stalking. But how are they doing that? They're doing that because they have neural monitoring. They can pull stuff up on their phone, or they can have a gang stalker that is connected to you on the mind control to give them the play-by-play announcements over artificial telepathy as a form of communication. Just like they come at us with artificial telepathy and use it as like turn on frequencies and screams and say dumb stuff all day or repeat back to you what you're thinking. They can use it for themselves amongst each other like they're just having a phone call. Of course, if you started acting retarded and doing screams and frequencies and saying dumb stuff to me and I had my neural monitoring, of course I would turn you off. I would hang up on you. Okay, this is how it works. And literally, it's like that simple for them. So this mind control thing that they wear, though, it acts like an amplifier. Because even though it's a two-way connection, it's not very comprehensive. You're not having, like, you don't have like a detailed outlook or outline of this is what's happening. You know, like here's the log file that shows me everything that's happening. Or they're looking at neural monitoring and they're looking at, oh, this connection is active. This setting is on. Let me do this and this and this. But while they're controlling their broadcast, they can attack you with that broadcast. And when I say a broadcast, like nearly invisible, holographic type of EMF reflective wave broadcast. Okay. Can it be just a blob of waves? Yes. Yes, it can. A broadcast is a broadcast, but it can take many forms. And if you think about what's going on here, okay, they're doing a live stream. They're doing a EMF broadcast video of themselves gang stalking you. Now, if there's just a blob of waves on the side of your head, it could hurt you just like they're hurting you. But is it that interesting for their broadcast? Probably not for their live stream. Okay. For their live stream of broadcast. Is it interesting? It's not, because for their live stream, this EMF video that they want to put out as a show to other gang stalking people to try to generate revenue, just like anybody that creates content, they need that broadcast to be a representation of themselves. So that's what it normally is. Their broadcast is normally a representation of themselves. And it can even be a Gargamel or a Transformer, or they could be a skeleton or a flying thing. They can broadcast as what they want to, and they will do that sometimes for whatever reason. Maybe for amusement, maybe for a special type of live stream, or maybe just to see how it is to do that. I don't know. Okay, there's many reasons it could be, but typically for a live stream, they would broadcast as themselves. Okay, and then so what you would have on their live stream is it would be some view of you from a broadcast or from a reflective surface, which would also mean from a broadcast in a different way. They would see this view of you. Okay, and you'd have a broadcast hologram representation of them hanging halfway out of your head, looking like some kind of idiot, like this is so cool. You know, and meanwhile, you're like, oh, you know, trying to scratch this broadcast off of your head or using bright lights to disrupt it or whatever it is, because they're saturating into your brain, ruining your day and causing all sorts of pain and suffering. as well as long-term health risks and health problems. So, what could you say? It's attempted murder? Yes, you could say that. Should they be put to death by capital punishment legally? I believe so. I believe they should, because I believe that they torture people for amusement and ultimately cause death. Or, as all the weird people these days who don't want to say the real word, cause unaliveness. What's up with that? What's up with that ridiculous term? Um, so that's what a direct energy weapon is in our world. Okay, and being targeted by gang stalkers using remote neural monitoring. It's a satellite broadcast that they control. Okay, and it's usually a representation of themselves, a hologram broadcast, and they literally just penetrate your body with it. They could stand next to you and wave their hand through your face and literally cause it to feel like you're being electrocuted and cause serious pain. And it could be a blob of waves, but it wouldn't be very interesting for their live stream, that the content that they put out there. So typically, this direct energy weapon is a hologram broadcast of whatever gang stalker is doing this to you. And they're putting out that content out there somewhere on the underground, on neural monitoring sites where they share content around and do the live streams and stuff that they do, the shows about people's lives. And when it's not interesting anymore, when you're not calling the police, telling them you've seen a shadow in the tree and somebody's trying to kill you and there's nobody around, and gathering up your things to escape the Illuminati, to get out of town, and going everywhere and jumping on buses and trains and getting lost and your phone ain't working. When you're not doing that anymore, it starts to become more of a violent thing, because the ones that put on those type of shows, those chaotic, um, escape the Illuminati, this targeted individual type of show, that those are funny. They could be funny. I've been through it, okay? So I can say that it's funny because I've been on the victim side of it. And I could still see how it could be funny. It's also dangerous. It's also very dangerous, and people die in these situations. And uh, people's lives become destroyed in these situations. And in my situation, there's been plenty of times where it was completely feasible that a gang stalker could have been the one to be hurt, or in a very dangerous situation. Lots of times, especially in the cars, when they try to play the thing where two or three of them will like cut you off, and then one of them will let out a big smoke bomb or something like that. And like, this is out in public on the streets. Yeah, these things become very dangerous. And not to mention, people have weapons, and um, they actually feel like the danger is life threatening, and sometimes it is. So it could become a self defense situation, and so many of these situations have went down across the world, around the world, that um, it's impossible that it hasn't went bad. I'm sure many times it's probably went bad many, many times, um, where people have died, probably gang stalkers, and definitely targeted people. But all of this stuff, it ends up happening like that, and then once you kind of get a grip on the situation and start to take it all in and understand the technology and how it works, and uh, those crazy things that are going on, the threats that they're making are for the most part empty, and they're using broadcasts for terror. They're terrorists. They're trying to terrify you, and you become terrified, and it becomes dangerous, and it can be life threatening. But um, whenever that quits, then kind of those type of gang stalkers that put on the good shows and have it revved up like that, they move on to the next person that's flaking out. That's interesting like that. And then the ones that love your mind, The ones that love the way you think, but they hate you because they're not you, and they stick around because they're addicted like crack babies. They're addicted to your mind and your thought process. And they've got all kinds of history on your channel, and they start to feel sentimental about all of these live streams that they've put out in this history that they have, and they don't want to leave you. And it's like you want to divorce these gang stalkers out of your life, but they won't go away. They won't go away. And when I say that, I mean, it doesn't matter if they're men or women. In my case, I got 4 men that stay on all day, every day. And they got 2 or 3 other extra guys, like their closest gang stalker buddies, that come on with them sometimes. Okay, but they're part-time, not all the time. I got 4 guys that never get off my channel ever. Never. Okay, and they become violent. When all the scenarios are played out and all the jokes are hatched, it's over with, and there's nothing left. They'll sit there and do the same the same scenarios and the same jokes over and over, long after they're played out, and just keep trying and failing and trying and failing. And it ultimately results in just violence, where they just sit there and put their broadcasts all over you like a direct energy weapon, but they control it. Okay, they put their broadcast on you, their little hologram broadcast, penetrate into your body, and it hurts severely. So this week, they've been attacking right here on my temple area, on this right side of my head, and my left knee a lot. And they like to wait until I'm like high up in the air, doing some work task or something like that, where it becomes dangerous. I was helping somebody move something. And it's not because you're doing an activity that suddenly you start to have this serious injury that magically goes away 10, 20 minutes later, or as soon as you put a bright flashlight on it to disrupt it. It's not that you're doing some activity. It's that they try to take the opportunity that you're doing an activity, excuse me, or to make you think that that's what it really is. That, if you run up the road, they start attacking your leg. And you think, oh, wow, I better not run again. They're trying to steal your physical activity and wellness. And, and not to mention, like, when you're in a more dangerous situation, it's like attempted murder. I might be 40 feet off the ground, on some platform somewhere doing some kind of work thing, and suddenly they'll start attacking my knee in a way that I can't even stand up. Okay, but magically, 20 minutes later, there's nothing wrong with my knee at all. I could run around like an athlete all day. But, when I was 40 feet up in the air, leaning for this thing over here and in a dangerous situation, suddenly my knee got attacked in a way that made it feel like I couldn't even put weight and I was going to collapse. Right? It's dangerous. It's attempted murder is what it is. You have to be very careful. And especially with the few that they have a lot to lose, since they don't have much to begin with, but all they've been doing is torturing you for years and years and years, and everybody knows it. All the gang stalking world knows it. And by the way, they're not all gang stalkers. There's millions of people that have neural monitoring that don't use it for gang stalking, but I'm sure they use it for plenty of beneficial things. But, and the goal is we all want to have our neural monitoring. Okay. Imagine it like a social media. Okay. What if I have your social media and I can control everything on it? Right. And you got to just sit back and watch me stream your most embarrassing moments right on your social media and mine. Right. Because you don't have control of it and you don't know how to get access to it. So that's why I started college for programming a couple years ago. And while I'm still in it now, and while I'll still be in it when I get this degree soon, and also continue with the cybersecurity degree, and then I'll probably network stuff has been very important thing to learn. Network, anything to do with network. You become a network engineer, you'll probably be able to get neural monitoring. You become a cybersecurity graduate, you'll probably be able to get neural monitoring, I'm hoping, because I know this is how they do all of the things that they do. So, by the way, I was saying I'm going to get a new computer, and I'm going to still. So be on the lookout for that over the next couple weeks. It'll be me going, and I'll show like what my current laptop is doing. And my current laptop um, I bought it 10 years ago. Okay. And it was used when I bought it. It was when I bought it, it was used, but it was like the top line MacBook. And I've had it for 10 years. So, I don't feel bad wanting a new laptop. It's definitely time. But I get a lot of use out of them. They're very good machines, when you buy the good ones. But I'll show you what it's been doing and what it's always done and what every laptop I get does. And then I'll show you how new ones don't do that. And then I'm going to verify with the store when I get it. We're going to verify that it's not doing that. And I'm going to have the Apple Care. And then I'm going to make a video. Basically, it's going to turn into a video series because they're going to do that to take over my laptop. Like, because they want to have control. They want to ultimately have control so you can't stumble upon anything you're not supposed to. Plus, it makes it a lot easier if they have control of your phone and control of your laptop, and they can run their live streams in the background. And you might get to a point where they'll allow you to use it, but they control your services and they want to do that. But I'm getting farther and farther along with making it more and more difficult for them to do those kind of things. Um, so that'll be some videos that I'll be making over the next month or so, and maybe on after that if it becomes a problem. So because I don't like them destroying my property or taking over my property, doing things to my property. It's like it's a big problem, and I'm going to make it a Apple computer problem and a public Apple computer problem. So maybe it won't be a problem for me. Because if my gang stalkers make it a problem for me, then I'm going to make it a public Apple computer issue and see if I can't stir up a bunch of publicity on it. Because you know how I like to do that. No, I won't get into that right now. Anyway, I wanted to cover that direct energy weapons thing and how they operate with that. And I'm going to leave this video on public, at least for a couple weeks, just because I think everybody needs this information. So that's all for now, and I will catch you on the next one.